If you're planning to have 3 Manchester City players in your team for game week 13, that's a big mistake. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why. My name is Akafusi, I'm a data analyst and I built a model that can estimate how many points every player is expected to score over the next few game weeks. As we all know, to predict a player's future points, it's not enough to look at their individual quality. We also need to understand how easy or difficult the upcoming fixtures are. Let's start from the team data. In this chart, you can see the expected goals scored and conceded by every Premier League team over the first 12 game weeks. The higher a team is on the chart, the worse its defense is. Right at the top, we find Burnley, who have conceded over 1.8 expected goals per game so far in the league. On the other hand, the best defense belongs to Arsenal, who are allowing just 0.5 expected goals per game. Horizontally, the further to the right a team is, the more expected goals they have created. So, the stronger their attack is. At the moment, Chelsea are first with almost 1.8 expected goals per game in attack, while Burnley also have the weakest attack in the league. But this alone is not enough. We need a way to translate this attacking and defensive strength into something we can actually use for FPL. To do that, we analyze thousands of data points from previous Premier League seasons and build a model that links a team's underlying strength to the expected goals they will score and concede in the future fixtures. Starting with defenses, according to the model, Arsenal have the best defense in the league. Over the next 5 game weeks, they are projected to keep 0.61 clean sheets per match. That run starts in game week 13 away to Chelsea, where Arsenal have a 39% probability of keeping a clean sheet. In attack, the team with the easiest schedule is Fulham, with a fixture difficulty coefficient of 1.09. That means that over the next 5 game weeks, Fulham are expected to score 9% more goals than their current average. The run starts with an away game at Tottenham in game week 13, where the attacking coefficient is 1.13. That number might surprise some people, but the truth is Tottenham's defense this season has been very weak. As we saw in the first chart, Spurs are conceding more expected goals than the league average, and they are one of the worst defenses in the division. Only Wolves, West Ham and Burnley have conceded more expected goals than Tottenham so far. Now, let's talk about Manchester City and their fixtures, because a lot of managers think they have an easy run and are ready to triple up on them. If we look at the actual data, Manchester City upcoming fixtures against Leeds, Fulham, Sunderland and Crystal Palace are not as easy as they look on paper. We shouldn't judge teams just by their names or the fact that Leeds and Sunderland have only recently been promoted. The underlying numbers tell a different story. These teams have defenses that are around or even slightly better than the Premier League average. They are not pushovers, and City are not expected to score a huge number of goals against them. So, going heavy on Manchester City attackers just because the names looks easy is not backed by the data. Now that we've looked at team strength and fixture difficulty, let's move to the individual players and see who actually comes out on top in each position, starting with goalkeepers. Goalkeepers earn points mainly from saves and clean sheets. That's exactly what we saw in this chart. The further to the right a goalkeeper is, the more saves per game he has made so far in the season. Right at the far right is Dubravka with 4 saves per game. The lower a goalkeeper is on this chart, the fewer expected goals he has conceded, which means a higher chance of clean sheets. At the very bottom, you find Raya from Arsenal. If goalkeepers continue at the same rates, the best goalkeeper in the game is Raya. He is projected to score 4.47 points per match. Moving on to the defenders get points from goals, assists, clean sheets and defensive contributions. In this chart, the farther to the right a defender is, the more attacking returns, goals and assists he has produced so far. The most attacking defenders are Timber from Arsenal and Krejci from Wolves, while Munoz and Calafiori also show strong attacking numbers. There is a big drop off after these four, so if you want an attacking defender, you probably want to pick one of them. Vertically, the lower a defender is, the fewer expected goals he has conceded through his team, which means higher clean sheets probability. At the bottom, again, we find Arsenal defenders Saliba, Calafiori, and Timber. The defenders marked with a green dot, are those with more than 10 defensive contributions per game on average, which increases their chances of hitting the defensive bonus in the game. If we translate all these into expected FPL points, the best defender in the game is Timber from Arsenal with 6.04 expected points per match, followed very closely by Calafiori, also from Arsenal. Very high up in third place, we find Senesi from Bournemouth, mainly thanks to his defensive contribution numbers. He averages more than 12 defensive contributions per match, which makes him almost certain to hit the defensive bonus every time he plays. In fourth place is Andersen from Fulham, who also posts strong defensive contribution numbers and plays in a solid defense, so we can expect some clean sheets from him as well. Now let's talk about midfielders. In the midfield chart, the further to the right a player is, the more expected open play goals he has generated so far. At far right, we see Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea. Other very threatening midfielders include Sarr, Gakpo, Mbemo, Eze, and Semenyo. Vertically, the higher a player is, the more expected assists he has, and at the top of that scale is Saka from Arsenal. Players shown in bold are the penalty takers for their clubs, which is extremely important because penalties are a big bonus that we must factor in. Players with a green dot are those who average more than 12 defensive contributions per game, which again increases their chances of hitting defensive bonus points. If midfielders keep performing at the same level for the rest of the season, the best midfielder in the game is Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea with 6.74 expected points per match. Of course, we know that at some point Palmer will return, which means Enzo will probably lose penalty duties and his projection will drop quite a bit. This shows you how important penalties are. The top 6 midfielders in expected points are all penalty takers for their teams. After Enzo, we have Bruno Fernandes from Manchester United, who combines a decent open play attacking contribution, around 0.2 expected goals and around 0.18 expected assists per game, with high defensive contribution numbers, which means he can also hit defensive bonus. And on top of that, he takes United's penalties. Then we have Salah from Liverpool. However, for his price, he's not a good value. A player that expensive should comfortably be the best midfielder in the game to justify the investment, and he's not. Below that, we see other midfielders who are very good options for our teams. Semenyo from Bournemouth, Ndiaye from Everton, Saka from Arsenal, Sarr from Crystal Palace, and others. Now for the forwards. In the forward chart, the further to the right a player is, the more non-penalty expected goals per game he has. Unsurprisingly, at the far right, with a huge gap, is Haaland, with over 1 expected goal per game, followed by Mateta. There is one very popular forward right now among FPL managers, both for those using their free hit and for everyone else, Thiago from Brentford. But look at this. He had just 0.3 non-penalty expected goals per game. That is not a particularly high number for a striker, so we should be careful with him. He's not a bad pick. He also takes penalties for Brentford. But he's not a must-have player we need to rush to buy at any cost. If forwards keep their current performance levels, the best forward is Haaland with 8.75 expected points per game. He's followed by Mateta on 6.3. And in third place, we have Thiago on 4.47 expected points. Notice something important here. Even though Thiago is the third best forward, 4.47 expected points per match is not a high number. If we go back to the midfielders, we see many players above 5 expected points per game. And among defenders, we have several close to 5 points as well. So, investing 6.5 million in Thiago is not really necessary when we have defenders priced at 4.5 million who are expected to score roughly the same number of points. In other words, if we have other problems to our teams, it's maybe better to solve those first before buying Thiago. Taking everything into account, individual player quality, fixture difficulty, and expected points, this is the best long-term team we could build right now. In goal, we have Raya, who, as we saw, is the best goalkeeper in the league by expected points. In defense, we have two more Arsenal players giving us a triple Arsenal defense, Timber and Calafiori. They are both attacking threats and have by far the best clean sheet odds. Then we have three cheap defenders, Senesi from Bournemouth, Andersen from Fulham, and Van den Berg from Brentford. For their price and their defensive contribution numbers, they are excellent value. They allow us to save money at the back and invest heavily in other positions. In midfield, we have Enzo from Chelsea, who for now is on penalties and has good open play numbers. Sarr from Crystal Palace with very strong expected goals. Semenyo from Bournemouth, who is probably on penalties and also has decent open play XG. And then Bruno and Ndiaye from Manchester United and Everton. These are two midfielders who usually play close to 90 minutes, have good defensive contributions, and they are on penalties and carry some open play goal threat as well. Up front, we have the three best forwards in the league, Haaland, Mateta, and Thiago. All three have solid open play numbers and are penalty takers for their teams. Now, a lot of managers are planning to use their free hit this game week. Personally, I think using the free hit now is a good idea. Arsenal are playing against Chelsea, and most of us own multiple players from both teams. Because they play each other, their projections this week is relatively low. Using the free hit gives us a chance to temporarily remove those players and focus on others with much higher upside. In my opinion, this is the best free hit team for this game week. As you can see, I do not have Thiago in this free hit draft. I actually think Brentford's defense has a higher chance of scoring points than Thiago does this week. This is why I have triple Brentford defense, the goalkeeper and two defenders. Of course, if Brentford concedes one goal, then we get immediately 3 blanks. It's a high risk, high reward play. But if we want to climb up the ranks, we need to take some calculated risks and be differential when the data supports it. Yes, Burnley's defense is awful, which increases Thiago's chances for scoring, but their attack is just as bad. So, while it is quite likely that Thiago gets a goal, it is also very likely that Brentford keep a clean sheet. The expected value is similar, but the defensive stack lets us structure the rest of the squad much better. There is another reason behind this decision. Financially, the only way to fit both Salah and Haaland in the same free hit team was to save money elsewhere. Instead of sacrificing Salah or Haaland just to include Thiago, I chose to keep Salah as a powerful differential. West Ham currently have the second worst defense in the league, so Salah has a great chance of delivering a big score. In my view, it is more likely that Salah holds than Thiago does. That's the video. Let me know in the comments if you're planning to use your free hit this game week and whether you agree with the team I've built. Leave a like if you found this useful and good luck with your team. I hope you get a lot of green arrows.